Bugs crashing your pack's party? Whether they've got paws or sneakers, your pack deserves a home that's protected from pests. That's where Wondercide comes in. Plant-powered protection made with steam-distilled natural essential oils that actually work. It kills and repels fleas, ticks, mosquitoes, and ants without questionable ingredients or overpowering smells. Safe to use around kids and pets when used as directed. Lab-proven to work fast. And proudly made in the USA. We offer sprays for pets, people, homes, and yards. Plus, spot-on treatments, collars, and even shampoos. Whatever your pack needs, we've got it covered. Founded by a pet parent looking for a better way to protect her dog Luna, Wondercide's now protected over 21 million lives and counting. You might have even seen us on Shark Tank. Go to Wondercide.com and use code WONDER20 for 20% off your first order. That's WONDER20 at Wondercide.com. Wondercide. Protect your pack with plant-powered Wondercide today.
Hello, this is Aaron West. I am the author of the A24 New Wave. In this book, I look at A24's output and I make the argument that we are in a new wave movement right now. A24 plays a major role. This book has a supplemental podcast where each episode is a brief conversation about an A24 related topic, whether an actor, director, or even a genre. As I continue research for the book and conduct interviews, I expect to record podcast episodes with people involved with the company. You can find the podcast at cinejourneys.com or wherever you find podcasts, and we are proud to be members of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
All this gritty stuff, are you buying this stuff, or are you just showing this to Richard?
Well, first off, Richard, do you know about gritty?
I don't know what gritty is.
Gritty is...
Gritty looks like a Rankin and Bass character.
Sleep with one eye open, bird.
Gritty is the mascot for the Philadelphia Flyers, but he is now taken on
a sports team?
Yeah, a hockey team. But he has now taken on a kind of internet fame for being horrifyingly hilarious to look at. I mean, look at him. He's like an orange...
Yeah.
What the fuck is that? What the fuck is that, actually?
Is it a wild man? Is it an animal? Is it a monster?
It's a gritty.
It is a gritty.
It's its own thing, and the left has started adopted him for lots of protest signs.
Yeah.
Really?
He is the left's Pepe the Frog in many ways.
Oh shit!
During the pandemic, the early days, he was doing Gritty's quarter hour of power. So every day, someone in the suit would do a 15-minute performance piece. Sometimes Gritty would be doing Jenga. Sometimes he'd be like shooting baskets. Sometimes he would just actually meditate. Sometimes there'd be something really ridiculous. But yeah,
what is Gritty's aspect? What is his personality? Is he a partier? Is he a gentle giant? What is his thing?
The way I interpret Gritty is lovable, but he can turn in a moment's notice.
So
he's got those eyes.
He has those eyes, Richard. And when it's lit just right, when it's lit correctly, like that picture that I sent to you guys, Gritty looks horrifying.
Is that did you send? We should do one more, which is the one that started him famous, which is him versus the Pittsburgh Penguin.
Oh, I have not seen that.
He's very Canadian.
He's very Canadian?
He feels Canadian to me. It's sort of like he's a lot of fun until the punches start to fly.
You see those pictures though, Richard? That's horrifying. When he looks like that,
it's terrifying.
So this is one of the ones that got right after Gritty came out. Oh, it didn't.
Gritty came out. Is that his catchphrase? Sleep with one eye open tonight, bird.
Well, that became sort of like a call, because he came out and people at first were like making fun of him. And so, of course, the Pittsburgh Penguins were going to make fun of him. And then he came up with that one-liner. And
I'm going to be real with you, Chief. It's not safe for you right now. Is that his thing? Is that his phrase?
I have no fucking clue. But
No.
that's, for some reason, that text with that picture is fucking glorious. Oh, so, you know what? We're not here to talk about Gritty on the Kulturecast.
no.
I know. It's a disappointment, but I am joined by my good friends. They're here together normally, and they're here together now. All the way from the West Coast, Richard Hatem.
Hello, everyone. Sleep with one eye open, bird.
Yeah, that's Richard's catchphrase. And from the other side of the country, Mr. Cullen Gallagher.
Howdy.
And smack dab in the center of it all, in between both is me. Yippee, yippee. I would rather be closer to one of you than equidistant from both, because that means I'm stuck somewhere in the Midwest. Cool.
Yeah.
You're welcome to come to New York. Come, move
Chris,
here.
I've been looking at the charts. It looks like you're in a place there are no COVID cases. You guys have got it totally
Correct. We are not reporting anymore. Correct.
Oh.
Our cases are 0, so they claim. Yes.
Between underreporting, non-reporting, and false reporting, it's like, oh no, they just died of a lung infection or something. I guarantee whatever number is official, double it. And that's how many people have died of COVID in America.
Yeah.
And worldwide probably too. If you just take whatever the worldwide number is, just double it.
Yeah. Yeah, probably doubling's not enough. It's fun, isn't it? We've been podcasting together, Richard, for what? 2 years? 3 years? 4 years? 3.
3-ish. At
Almost
least
4.
3, it feels like. Yeah.
Cullen, you and I have been podcasting for a year.
I think this is the anniversary.
Yeah, is it?
I think it was August of last year. Was that when we did which was the first one we did?
I think we did. Was the first movie we did together a Seagal movie?
I'm going to go back through my...
Seagull movie? Steve the Seagull? Whatever the first thing we watched.
Okay, so last July we did On Deadly Ground, and then on August 4th we did Cholet.
Cholet?
Oh.
Richard was here for that one.
I was there for Cholet. That was August 4th?
Cullen and I did a podcast with Jess, and then Cullen and Richard and I, the three of us, we did Cholet together, and that was where Cullen and Richard met.
That was a great movie.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
It was. You know what else is a good movie? Who Am I This Time?
It is.
So similarly to last month, similarly to the last episode, we're talking about TV movies. They were picked by one of our Patreon supporters. The entire month was TV movies. That's what he picked, and these are the movies that he picked for us. So Who Am I This Time is one of those movies. You can buy it on Amazon if you so choose, but I think you can find it on YouTube, I would assume. But it is based off of a Kurt Vonnegut story from his anthology, Welcome to the Monkey House, which is a fucking great title for a short story. The film was it was broadcast on America's Playhouse on PBS in 1982. It's directed by Jonathan Demme and stars Susan Sarandon and Christopher Walken. So, Richard, I know that this was not the first time that I know this is the first time that you had seen this, obviously. I would be surprised if you had, just given kind of how random this is in many ways. Given how many TV movies there are in TV movie land. But what did you think of Who Am I This Time?
I was taken aback, not in an entirely negative way, at the rather primitive production values. It really almost struck me as like a student film at first. I was like, what am I seeing here? And then I was really surprised when it was Jonathan Demme. I'm like, okay. The production values, literally it looks like something that was shot on 16 millimeter around someone's neighborhood. You know what I mean? It was like, there is zero production value.
Oh, yeah.
So so once I sort of absorbed that, because that's an odd thing nowadays. That is not an aspect of filmmaking, even when you're watching something that is supposed to be stripped down and documentary-like, you're always struck with a level of production. This is not that. And so it disarmed me, perhaps in a good way, because it left me with nothing but naked performance. And that's what I took away from this. And I came away mostly impressed.
What about you, Cullen?
This was my first time seeing it, and the first time reading the story. I thought the movie was delightful. I thought the performances were charming, very sort of, lighthearted, upbeat, but not, too corny of a love story. I was a little surprised that the movie interpreted this story in the most lighthearted way. Maybe I'm a cynical jerk, but there was a much darker aspect to the story that I thought was, a little haunting and very sad. And sad is a word used in the story. And we could talk about the differences.
I'm glad you picked up on that, Cullen, because Richard, did you read or listen to the short story?
You sent it to me and I was going to read it. And then when I heard that it was audio, I was like, I'm out.
Okay, well, Richard would rather have to sit and read as opposed to listen and be able to do other things.
I'm the same way.
I hear you guys. I
prefer to read it.
No, I'm the opposite. Like, I love reading, but I like audiobooks I
like audiobooks too. I just wasn't prepared for it in that moment. And I'm like, I don't want to get engaged in this that's running at someone else's speed. Sure. I kind of wanted to just get a sense of the written tone, which I can get quicker visually than orally.
Right. And so I mention that because, Cullen, you didn't listen to it, but you read it. I listened to it. And Richard, you're just having seen the movie. So I mention this because it's a good thing, because our three kind of interpretations of the story, I think, are going to be different. Because Cullen's interpretation is similar to mine, but mine also has an aspect that the movie does.
Bugs crashing your pack's party? Whether they've got paws or sneakers, your pack deserves a home that's protected from pests. That's where Wondercide comes in. Plant-powered protection made with steam-distilled natural essential oils that actually work. It kills and repels fleas, ticks, mosquitoes, and ants without questionable ingredients or overpowering smells. Safe to use around kids and pets when used as directed. Lab-proven to work fast. And proudly made in the USA. We offer sprays for pets, people, homes, and yards. Plus, spot-on treatments, collars, and even shampoos. Whatever your pack needs, we've got it covered. Founded by a pet parent looking for a better way to protect her dog Luna, Wondercide's now protected over 21 million lives and counting. You might have even seen us on Shark Tank. Go to Wondercide.com and use code WONDER20 for 20% off your first order. That's WONDER20 at Wondercide.com. Wondercide. Protect your pack with plant-powered Wondercide today.
Hello, my name is Kevin Tudor, and I'm one of the three hosts of Almost Major, a film podcast dissecting many major indie studios and the films they release. Every week, myself, Charlie Nash, and Bryden Doyle discuss overlooked, forgotten, or bona fide classic indie films via studio-specific miniseries. We've previously covered numerous films from Artisan Entertainment, Lionsgate Films, and New Line Cinema. Titles including The Blair Witch Project, American Psycho, Dogville, But I'm a Cheerleader, Saw, Requiem for a Dream, and Ringmaster, the Jerry Springer film. Anyways, we have a fun time every week and we hope you will join us. Subscribe to Almost Major wherever you get your podcasts. Now proudly a part of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
Doesn't really talk about, because the way the character's coded in the story that I listened to, the Helene character played by Susan Sarandon, the way she's portrayed in the movie is not that character. They're both supposed to be like Harry is, right? And she's not in the story that we see. She's presented maybe a milder case, but in the story that I listened to, she's presented much more farther on. Look, this movie is about two people on the spectrum, clearly.
Interesting.
The story that I listened to, she is much further on the spectrum almost than he is, or maybe the same level. In this, she's not at all.
Wow. You
didn't interpret it that way?
I did not pick up the on the spectrum thing at all. And in the movie, for anyone that hasn't read it or seen it, it's about a community theater production in which they're going to be doing A Streetcar Named Desire. Harry is someone who works at the hardware store who's very soft-spoken, but when he comes on stage, he becomes alive. He's like a different person. Helene works as a supervisor at the telephone company. She's new in town. The director invites her to audition. She's also kind of meek, but when the two of them get together and audition, they hit it off. She does a great job. She falls in love with this guy, except everyone keeps telling her, once the play is over, he's not going to be the same person anymore. He's not going to be Stanley. And spoiler alert, as Mike would say, if you don't want a spoiler, pause here and go watch and read it and then come back. Thank you for coming back. It ends with her giving him a gift, which is Romeo and Juliet. They read, the two parts. And in the story, the two run off from the last performance. They get married, and then the director comes back to them and says, "Hey, are you going to be around for the next play?" And she says, "Who are we this time?" Which is a callback to something that Harry says earlier when the director asks him to be in the play, where he just says, "Who am I this time?" The movie is very different with the ending in that after the last performance, she gives him Romeo and Juliet. And then it sort of follows them where she comes to the hardware store the next day. They're acting out the importance of being earnest, which turns into a proposal. The whole town is all around them. And then the director says, "Hey, will you be in the new play?" And they're hugging each other and say, "Well, who are we this time?" It's, warm and fuzzy.
It's very quaint compared to the story.
The thing that jumped out for me of the short story, right at the beginning, it's narrated by the director. So the movie gives you all sorts of insights into the private lives of Helene and Harry. That's not really in the story. The narrator says, he was too shy. He didn't stay away from meetings because he had something else to do. He wasn't married, didn't go out with women, didn't have any close men friends either. He stayed away from all kinds of gatherings because he could never think of anything to say or do without a script. And later, when he's invited to, audition, the narrator says, "Well, Harry said what he always said, which is kind of sad. Who am I this time?" And so for me, I was sort of torn because part of this story to me was about oh my God, these are people that so love fiction in these stories that it helps them find themselves and gives them a voice. And I think that's wonderful, and I agree with that interpretation, and that's what the movie takes. Another way that I was reading it is neither Harry nor Helene really have a lot of personal experience that they can relate to these emotions. And it sort of just makes me wonder, who are they really? They're playing these other people, but they're not sure who they are. And at the end of the story, they get married because they read Romeo and Juliet. And when Helene comes back, she says to the director, "Well, we've played all these other parts since we've been married. Who are we this time?" It's do y'all really know each other or who you are? Are you just going to keep playing somebody else? And that ambiguity I didn't get in the movie. Did either of you get that from the movie? And Chris, did you feel that way about when you listened to it?
I was going to say that's really interesting, and I love how your description of the story and kind of how you're coming at it. I did not get that from the movie. I mean, it was a close. The experience was in the neighborhood, but a slightly different street. Because it was, I believe, in the movie to me portrayed more as a kind of a quasi victory, and a bit of a breakthrough as engineered by Helene. So it's almost as if, well, Helene is just a person who's never really thought about acting and does not have a big demonstrative personality, but Christopher Walken's character, which is, what's his name again?
Harry.
Oh, Harry. I'm sorry. Yeah, Harry. Harry has a real problem. Like Harry is almost inarticulate, almost unable to conduct a conversation in any setting. But when he's on stage, he appears to access emotions and aspects of his personality that he can't access in any other way. To me, it felt like the movie was from Helene's point of view.
Yeah.
And was very much about her efforts to, she's first confronted with this person, then intrigued by him, then aroused and sort of falling in love with him.
Aroused is the correct word. After their first audition, she's like huffing and puffing. It's like she just had an orgasm.
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, look, like when your main metaphor is Streetcar Named Desire, it's like, what are you supposed to take away from this other than they're getting hot for each other? I mean, I would love to take a survey of everyone in America who's ever performed in Streetcar Named Desire and then find out, how often they fucked. It's like, okay, yep, they ended up fucking. They ended up this production, and probably in 90% of all productions of Streetcar Named Desire, Stanley ends up fucking either Blanche or Stella, or both. But then she attempts to break through, can't break through, is then in the movie, and I don't know if this scene appears in the story, but is then totally sort of disassembled by that, turns in a very bad performance because she can't understand. Like, first they're doing great and the performances are amazing. Then she tries to break through, can't. Then the next performance, she's so astounded by the fact that he's still able to access this on stage, but is manifestly unable to access anything off stage, that she can't even respond to him on stage. But then comes back around, is able to connect with him on stage. They deliver a fantastic final performance, but now she has a plan. And as you outlined, as in the story also happens in the movie, she gives him a book, and it's almost like, I'm going to use these. She's like the miracle worker. I'm going to use these dramatic texts as a way to get through to him. And so I'm going to give him Romeo and Juliet to bring out his love, not just the destructive passion of Stanley Kowalski. And then the implication is I'm going to use other plays to access other parts of his personality to draw them forth so that I can interact with them. Now, I'll just be doing my lines, but I'll know it's me. It's me. But I'm doing lines, but it's weird. And then at the end, at the end of the movie, I will say it was odd that even Christopher Walken is laughing like, we've figured out a crazy way to get along. But it's like, no, you just demonstrated you actually still can't talk to her unless you're reciting lines from a play. And so they've come up with this weird, now from there, you can take the metaphor anywhere. In any relationship, are we all just playing a role with our partner? And do we fall into a role that we always play with them? And do we always know our lines? And what happens when we don't know our lines? And have we ever noticed how that fucks up a long-term relationship when they give you your cue and you don't pick it up? You could go in a lot of directions with this.
I mean, I will say that I'm pretty sure the film version is going in that direction. Like, it's playing with those kind of two similar but different things. The written story is very different. Like Cullen's already mentioned, it's so stripped down because it's told from it is told from the director's point of view, but at the same time, it's ostensibly the audience's point of view because it's that thing about like it's that oh god, what is it? The shadows on the wall, right? The people seeing the shadows on the wall don't realize.
The parable of the cave by Plato.
Right. They don't know that there is a world outside because they've invented the world on stage and they buy into it and it is real. that reading the story or listening to it, it was...
Bugs crashing your pack's party? Whether they've got paws or sneakers, your pack deserves a home that's protected from pests. That's where Wondercide comes in. Plant-powered protection made with steam-distilled natural essential oils that actually work. It kills and repels fleas, ticks, mosquitoes, and ants without questionable ingredients or overpowering smells. Safe to use around kids and pets when used as directed. Lab-proven to work fast. And proudly made in the USA. We offer sprays for pets, people, homes, and yards. Plus, spot-on treatments, collars, and even shampoos. Whatever your pack needs, we've got it covered. Founded by a pet parent looking for a better way to protect her dog Luna, Wondercide's now protected over 21 million lives and counting. You might have even seen us on Shark Tank. Go to Wondercide.com and use code WONDER20 for 20% off your first order. That's WONDER20 at Wondercide.com. Wondercide. Protect your pack with plant-powered Wondercide today.
Hello and welcome to Tumbleweeds and TV Cowboys. My name is Hunter. In this podcast, I'll be joined by a different guest each week to discuss a classic Western movie or TV show. I've been a fan of classic Westerns for as long as I can remember, and in recent years, they've become very nostalgic for me. I love the aesthetic, the tropes, and I love seeing different filmmakers' takes on them. At their best, they're incredibly entertaining, rewatchable, and some of my all-time favorite movies are Westerns. We'll mostly focus on Western movies made in Hollywood, but we'll also be covering spaghetti Westerns, and one thing I'm very excited to get into are Western TV shows. I've got some amazing guests coming on the show, film professors, historians, and podcasters. And Tumbleweeds and TV Cowboys is part of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network, and many guests on the show will be from other shows on the network. Thanks for listening.
I guess narrated by Dylan Baker, who's fantastic. Perfect kind of person for this southerny thing. It really holds that. It held that grasp on me of like people being, like you said, Richard, unable to separate the two, and maybe that's because ultimately separation doesn't really exist. Because like you said, in reality or in your job or in the movie that you work on or in your life, we're all playing a role. So
I think I just wanted to mean interrupt Chris, but there was something I wanted to pick up that you're saying that Richard was saying, which is perspective. Richard, you pointed out that you thought the movie was told from Helene's perspective. And I would agree. And Chris, you're talking about the director's perspective. I don't think the director really fully understands either Helene or Harry. No. And I think that could be one reason that as written by Vonnegut, he doesn't really fully empathize or really get what's behind these people or their motivations. So it does kind of have that distance.
Right.
I sort of feel like if the story could be written differently from many different perspectives, and if it had been written from an omniscient perspective, it would also be a completely different experience.
Yeah, if it was omniscient, we might be able to understand what Harry does when he's not around. I mean, we never get the sense of who he is when he's not there, which is obviously the point of the narrative, is who is Harry when he's not on stage. Nobody knows because they haven't seen it. But I think if you had an omniscient narrator, the mystery of that would probably be gone way too quickly.
There is also in the movie, I don't know if this exists in the story or can exist, but they really do touch on the almost the notion of charisma. There's a lot of like young women around town who have crushes on Harry because they've seen him in different roles, and it's sort of like, it's almost like, the way you think a rock star is. It's like, if I go back to the hotel with that guy, it's going to be like that in the hotel room.
Right.
And then is it or isn't it? And what is that? What is produced on stage, and what is the effect it has on an audience?
And if it is like that with that person in the hotel room, is that because they wanted it to be that way? Or do you know what I mean? Are they trying to also keep up airs then? Because
if it is that way, they're still performing.
Right. That's my point. And that's that it goes even further is what I'm getting at. Yeah.
Because Helene says like the only love I know is from the movies and looking at movie stars. And she has that really poignant thing where it's like, I moved around so much as a child. They're the only people that moved with us. Which even now, I'm just like, I want to give her a hug. Like, that's really sweet. And I like that sweet part. But then the story kind of goes in these darker places.
Is that in the story? Is that in the book?
Yeah, it's in both.
Do they mention her moving around a lot as a kid in the book? I don't remember them mentioning that.
Oh, maybe I have conflated this.
It's really interesting, though, if she talked about falling in love with the performance on the screen and her being familiar with that feeling, and then encountering the same kind of attraction in real life, and how do you deal with that? And it's sort of being okay with her in real life. But I mean, in some weird way, because you do wonder, it's like, well, we never got a scene of the two of them at home eating dinner, having sex,
sitting on the couch watching TV,
doing laundry. It's like, so what? How much of this is their entire relationship constructed, or is it just in certain moments? It's like, okay, at night we get out the Romeo and Juliet and we fuck each other's brains out. But during the day, we do Death of a Salesman or something else because we got to go to work.
Men. Did they mention Cullen in the text about her moving around as a kid?
No, I just tried to find that spot. I think they added that just for the movie, yeah.
Which is why when I said the thing about the characters being on the spectrum, it doesn't in the movie. It's not that way. Yeah. Helene is very much like just a very naive woman, it would seem. In the story, at least the vibe and the energy that Dylan Baker was bringing, it made it seem like Helene and Harry are similar or developmentally delayed, I believe is the term. So that, again, I don't think Vonnegut was going for that. Maybe he was, I don't know. But I think it speaks to the theme of people who are lost finding solace in one another, but are they really?
If I can press pause for a second, I think one of the amazing things about the short story is that, as Chris, as you pointed out, it's really stripped to the bone. Yeah. And yet it's so rich that you could have all these different interpretations of it. And this movie, I think, is like, I can see where they got this from the story. And
I will tell you that if I had not listened to it, my interpretation may not be what it is either, which I think speaks to what this is also talking about, which is the transformative process of creation. Yeah. Being involved in creating something. I mean, again, these are two people and a director interpreting someone else's work in the story that they're talking about with Streetcar Named Desire. So it's a transformative process in a number of ways.
It's funny that the medium Vonnegut chose was acting, because you can totally, I would almost think you could see the story better if it's like if a young woman, or if you just picture a story where it is a musician who's, his music is amazing, but when he's not holding the guitar, there's just really nothing there.
Story of my life, man.
Or a writer, you meet the writer of these stories that are amazing, but they're very quiet, or a painter, or, in other words, the artist and the hypnotic and sexual spell of the artist that they have over all of us, and our hope and our wish and our desire that meeting the creator of the art will somehow match the experience of experiencing the art. That's fascinating. And that's ultimately what this is about. And so I guess, again, what Helene does is okay, here's what turns me on about this guy. I've got to find a way to square this circle, because I want to fuck Mick Jagger, or Sean Penn. I'm trying to think of an actor who does these these giant acting things, but then off stage, the story is they're very, they're not that thing. Or Peter Sellers. Here's another one. Peter Sellers was one of those guys who apparently, according to everyone who knew him, almost had no personality of his own unless he was playing a character. But when he was at a party, you wouldn't see him. He wouldn't be speaking. Sid Caesar apparently was also a guy where the people who knew him for years, all those people who wrote for your show of shows, Neil Simon, Larry Gelbart, Woody Allen, Mel Brooks, Carl Reiner, they all said there really was no real Carl Reiner. We'd all go out to lunch together, and he would just be doing accents, and he was great, but
Carl Reiner,
without
Sid
playing
Caesar.
a character, he couldn't do it. Sid Caesar.
Okay.
Sid Caesar.
You said Carl Reiner there, and I was very confused. I was like,
oh no, Carl Reiner was one of the writers.
Okay.
Along with Mel Brooks and all
have
those
you
other
ever
guys.
met anyone like that, Richard?
No, everyone I know is a big blowhard.
What about you, Cullen? Have you ever met anyone like that?
I mean, I'm thinking of a guy I met at a party that was really obnoxious because he wanted to be a stand-up comedian, and his idea of a conversation was testing his material on people, and it was just like there was nothing other than the performer. And I've never met this person again, but that sort of just comes to mind where I'm like, this guy
with you.
Yeah. There was one other. I'll propose another way of looking at this movie that we haven't talked about, which is I grew up in a small town, going to the local community center and playing music on like open mic nights or like being in like the high school theater productions was like, that was like the saving grace. It was just like, oh my God, I'm in this tiny town. I want to get the hell out. What can I do? Anything to be not just stuck here. And that aspect of this movie did resonate with me because it's just like, yeah, what is your life? He works at a hardware store. It's not that exciting. He gets to be on stage for a few hours a month.
But he lives for that.
Yeah, and I get that. Like, yeah. I live for that even now that I'm in New York. But like, if I were in that town, like, I just came from that town, and like that thirst for like, oh my God, I need to be doing something to like, get me out of here. Like, and I love that town, but like, I think it's an interesting aspect of the story that they do very sympathetically.
I keep going back to Helene and kind of what her whole deal is or was like how can any of this be seen as a victory? Like, did she, is she living happily ever after?
You're hung up on Helene's character big time.
It's totally because she doesn't have friends. She suddenly gets to be part of this community. She's not just going to be living for the job. She moves from town to town just for her job. She doesn't have.
Have you ever wanted to dive deeper into the horror movies you love? Beyond the Blood is a horror podcast for fans who want more than just surface-level screams. We do deep dives into the movies that shaped us, digging into director commentaries, behind-the-scenes stories, deleted scenes, and the special features that most people skip. Each episode is a love letter to the genre. We break down how these films were made, the creative risks that paid off or didn't, and the lasting impact they've had on the genre as a whole. From 70s slashers to modern nightmares, we celebrate the craft, chaos, and characters that keep us coming back. If you're the kind of fan who rewatches movies with the commentary on, or you simply grew up in the video store horror aisle, the Beyond the Blood podcast was made for you. New episodes every single week. Subscribe, and let's dig deep. Welcome to the Beyond the Blood podcast.
Friends because her job doesn't allow it. It's like for the first time she gets to like interact with other people and be somebody other than, like, okay, I'm going to teach you how to use this computer for the phone company. All right, you used me. Now you move me to the next.
I think to your point, though, Richard, like it is not. I don't consider this a victory at all.
Yeah, well, because we're not ever given what Helene wants in general from her life and what she's not getting.
She's a cipher.
It's not her idea to try out for the show. She doesn't do very well. She's almost cast despite herself. At no point does she say, I feel like I'm trapped, or I feel like I'm not seen for who or I don't know, something that makes you feel like in meeting him and engaging in this relationship, she is also addressing something that she's always wanted. Like, now I'm able to access stuff, through him. That's why it's so important, because you're sort of like, look, Christopher Walken is a good enough looking guy, and certainly his performance as Stanley Kowalski, it's like, oh, okay, well, I mean, it's extremely physical and passionate. I get it. But other than that, why does she need to be with him so hard?
Well,
it's
she says that at the beginning when she's meeting the director. She says she doesn't have connection to other people. She's never been a part of a community. She didn't have a family. She's always moving around. And he makes that joke about like, oh, as long as people go with the computers, it'll be all right. And it's like, she's seen as much as a, mechanical thing, just like the computer, because all she exists to do is to show people how to use this machine. And so I think this offered her a moment it showed her like, there's another way to live. I can be more than a computer. So that's how I interpreted it.
I was just going to say so even in that very first scene, his passion, his ability to get lost in a role allows her to also.
But that's at someone else's. That's at someone else's suggestion. Again, to your point, Richard, we never figure out what motivates her. We can infer what motivates her because she's doing all this stuff for essentially Harry's benefit and her benefit. But we never get a sense of what she wants because, like you mentioned just now, Cullen, the director goes and asks her why doesn't she have these things. But I'm not sure she cared enough to begin with to not care about not having them, is I think kind of what you're getting at a little bit, Richard. It's like to me, it's like she didn't care enough to have them anyways. So.
Well, but if you look at it like these are two people who are handicapped in some way and are unable, like without an exterior stimulus, they wouldn't even know what it was they were missing. They need to be brought to life by the bolt of lightning that is the other person. Now, what's funny is she's brought to life, but he is not. In other words, there is nothing about the introduction of her that transforms him just by virtue of them being together. He's still wanting to run off stage. If she did not force the subject, he'd still be alone. But it's like, okay, I guess I'll be with her because she insisted.
Yeah, that's what I don't know. At the end of the written story, less so at the end of the movie. At the end of the written story, it's a little bit more ambiguous if they're really happy.
Yeah.
In the movie, it's, clear as fucking day. Like, hey! Like, that's
they're
the
like
freeze.
Hugging each other.
That's the freeze frame at the end, and then they lived happily ever like an 80s credit roll type thing where it's like over their faces frozen. It's like,
he's literally laughing with joy at how everything turned out.
The first time, the entire time, in the entire thing. For a whole hour-long thing, and this is the first time. In the book, it's much more subtle, and it's much more ambiguous because he essentially says, the way the story ends is like this, Richard. It goes, and they didn't show up to the cast party, and then a couple weeks later, they were married. That's like literally it. Back me up on this, right, Cullen? It's like, that's literally how it ends. It's like, and they didn't come to the cast party, and then a couple weeks later, they were married, and I saw her, and she was like, yeah, I'm with, she says Othello and all these things like she does in this. And then she says, to the guy, who are we this time? Because he asks her to be in a role. Like, it's so ambiguous because you don't know if, like, she's just putting on airs because she is, or if that's the truth. But, again, the movie is very positive, which I think is a good thing. Frankly.
It makes me feel warm. Like, I'm glad I read this story first. Because, I had, a good, hour of talking to myself out loud, kind of battling back and forth between different interpretations. And then I saw the movie and felt all warm inside. And that was kind of nice.
I'm sure if we, spent 10 minutes online, I'm curious as to if Kurt Vonnegut had anything to say about what inspired this story. Because it also feels like sort of an un-Kurt Vonnegut-y story. I know he wrote about a lot of things, and he's not just a writer of the fantastical. But if I just saw this, I don't know that I would guess that it was based on a Kurt Vonnegut short story. And I wonder what it was. And he seems like the kind of guy who, if you asked him, he'd give you an answer. He'd go, yeah, it's about this guy I knew back in college or something, just something, and he'd say why he wrote it.
That's exactly what my girlfriend said when we finished watching it. She's a big Vonnegut fan, and she said, this does not feel Vonnegut. Then I explained the differences between the story and the movie, and she said, now that sounds more like Vonnegut.
Yeah, the movie feels like, I don't know if you've seen any of this show, Cullen, but I assume Richard has. It feels like a very weak episode. And this is not a condemnation of this. It feels like a very weak episode of Twilight Zone 1985.
I have not seen Twilight Zone 85.
Doesn't it a little bit, Richard?
Yes,
it has that feel to
yes.
it. Like, that's why I leaned into, like, the kind of having a story about characters that might be developmentally delayed. Like, that would be a Twilight Zone thing to do, is have
Twilight Zone 85, for sure.
But, it just has that feel to it. But, yeah, when I was watching the movie, because I watched the movie and then read the story after, I was like, what Vonnegut fucking story is this? Like, this is some wild Vonnegut. This is unlike most things of his that I've read.
If this were an original Twilight Zone show, it would end where there's not the Christopher Walken Harry character. He can't say anything that hasn't been written.
Right.
Or like somebody would slip him like he would get a book from like the library, but it would have the wrong dust jacket, so they think that he's getting a romance, but they actually gave him a murder story, and so
that's a good twist. And then they have the characters like, oh my god, he rented the wrong book. I would watch that. It's very.
Hey, it'd be great if we knew a screenwriter and producer.
A guy who does this for a living.
I don't know. None of the Twilight Zone remakes, and reboots have really worked.
Really? Tell me more. How many failed ones have there been now? 3, 4?
Yeah, I think so. And it's so funny because it's so deceptively simple. It's just like, oh yeah, just keep them short, and, But there was something about the way you could write dialogue back in the day that it was far less naturalistic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that actually really helped sharpen the stories and keep you entertained through long stretches of setup, because many of those episodes are 20 minutes of setup for a 30-second punchline.
Yep.
But the fact that everyone talks in sort of an arch way, you're sort of distracted by the sparkle of the language and the whatever's going on and the performances, because no one's a lead, everyone's a character actor in Twilight Zone, thank God.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot to sort of, you enjoy things along the way. And then a lot of them are just brilliantly written and whatever. But yeah, nowadays we make movies differently, so people get frustrated.
And honestly, this feels like a Twilight Zone episode in a lot of ways. Like, there's like this natural thing that it does where it just feels like a fly on the wall for a little bit. And a lot of the best Twilight Zone episodes just feel like a moment in time is like you're seeing this little moment and then it moves on and like the story ends. There you go.
The Twilight Zone ending of this is she gives him like the equivalent of a romance novel. And basically she turns him into her sex puppet. So she just takes it one step beyond Streetcar Named Desire and always has him play the role of the ravishing pirate or the whatever the rough lover is that she's always fantasized about, and he can't do anything else. It's like, unless he's handed something else, it's like, then this is the role I play. And, and then the door swings shut as she winks at the audience and we hear them, making love as we iris down.
So, and that's an interpretation that we didn't mention of this story. Because again, I don't think it lends itself to that. But what you just mentioned does, Richard. What she is doing could be viewed as insanely manipulative, right?
Oh, wholly manipulative.
Like whole cloth manipulation. And again, like what you just mentioned, Richard, if that's the ending, one of the many endings that this story could have in the Twilight Zone, boy, that's horrifying. Like, that's terrible, right? But again, like you just said.
But it says so much.
Right.
I mean, like, literally, you could, then you're really saying, okay, let's talk about a normal relationship. I mean, to what degree is one manipulating the other? To what degree is someone setting the rules and the other is playing by those rules?
Right.
In any relationship, I mean, you can go that extra, and I think going that extra step actually makes it far more interesting, because once you really think about it, you're like, oh, wait a second. Yeah, that's, give me 3 weeks with him. I'll turn him into marriage material. You know, the old hackneyed image of the, I'm going to change that man, I'll tame him. Taming of the shrew, other way around. How do we manipulate each other? And what are the lines we give the other, you know?
This is a very dark interpretation of such a lighthearted and fun story, isn't it, Cullen?
But this is what reminded me of, like, the short story.
Yeah, the short story, again, is very ambiguous.
I think it supports Richard's theory. Richard, I think you should... I'll send you the PDF if you'd like, because I think you'd get a kick out of reading it.
And you can picture it like if they shot the story's ending, he's talking to her, and she's like, "We've been doing this and we've been doing that," and he's like, "Well, are you guys available to do a show?" And she's like, "Sure. Who are we this time?" And then you see the community theater director look over her shoulder at Harry, who's behind her, with this silent scream in his eyes.
You should direct a remake of this.
So
from his hell.
So at the end of the story, correct me if I'm wrong, Cullen, at the end of the written story, she says, he says like, "Oh, they seem to be happy." But then she says something along the lines of like, "Depending on what story we're reading from."
Let me pull it up.
Because that's like the last paragraph.
So here we go. They never did show up at the cast party. 1 week later, they were married. They seem very happy, although they're kind of strange from time to time, depending on which play they're reading to each other at the time.
That, right? That is that little, the door is open just a crack for that horrifying interpretation.
Well, there's something else going on, which goes on in real life, and I've seen it dealt with sometimes on film, which is the couple you can't figure out. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
It's like the minute they leave the room, that's all anyone else talks about at the dinner party is like, what is going on? How are they together? When we're not around, what are they even saying to each other? Are they saying anything? Or are they arguing? What was going on with them tonight? That weird sort of prurient, voyeuristic, like wanting to know the truth of another relationship, of that couple. What is it with them? Which is fascinating, and I don't know if that gets dealt with a lot. Like, I don't know if there's a sort of story that's all about that. Like, oh, here's the movie you got to see that's only about that, about the couple that no one can figure out. I mean, it's not Virginia Woolf, because we're in that.
I mean, if this had gone on another hour, it would have been this movie, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, there's always an element of the erotic. There's always an element of like, those two. Wonder what they get up to.
Is it a sex thing?
There's always a little bit of a sex thing when you're wondering about that. And sometimes it's a horrifying sex thing. Like, what could they possibly see in each other? Like, oh God, I wouldn't want to be with either one of them, you know? But there's also that, but that's like a separate thing from the, man, I do not, like, I actually know a couple like that. It's two men. And one of them is extremely extroverted and the other one is extremely introverted. And when we have dinner with them, we talk to one of them, and the other one we've almost never spoken to. And it's like, what's happening here? What is this relationship? Like, they've got to be getting something out of it. They've been together for years.
Whoa.
And it's like, what the fuck? It's like, I don't know, like, does that guy not like us? Like, that's the first thing you always go through.
Right.
Like, do they not, am I pissing this guy off somehow? Or is it something about us? And then you're like, that can't be us. I think it's just him. But maybe that's the, opposites attract, and maybe that's the oil and water mixes. But that is interesting. That sort of, because it's from the director's point of view. So the director's like, I don't know. They seem happy. Sometimes they don't. I don't know. Can't figure it out. But I needed a male and female lead. So what do I care?
The only two people in this small town.
Yeah, right.
Be here until you die. Doing our little stage plays. I love it. It's great. It's so quaint. It's just like a quaint little town, right? Like, that's their only thing.
It's definitely friendly. The movie is friendly.
Oh yeah, and it's Jonathan Demme, guys. Like, come on, Jonathan Demme, not known for his very loving filmmaking. Let's just put it that way.
I liked some of his weird directorial decisions, like with the camera movement in this. Like, there's a moment in the story where they're talking about when Harry begins the Stanley audition, where it's like he almost became bigger, and then in the movie, it does this sort of a Vertigo Spike Lee thing where the camera like dollies and moves in one direction and like zooms in the other, and so the perspective changes. And I was like, okay, he's like trying to find a way using the camera to capture this change in perspective that they talk about, using words. I thought that was kind of neat.
It was. I wasn't 100%. Like, I definitely felt like we are watching a director who is not yet in full command of his art.
Right.
It wasn't bad, but it was just sort of, again, it was so stripped down. There was no lighting to speak of. There was no, very naturalistic, but almost like, not by choice, almost like, well, we need to film this and there's room for the camera over on that side of the set, so I guess that's where we'll shoot it from. Like, it didn't seem, I was not getting a big thumbprint of a director's voice in this.
You weren't getting a man in a giant suit, chiaroscuro, dancing underneath a lamp is what you're saying? Like, and Stop Making Sense?
I was not getting a man in an orange jumpsuit with a hockey mask strapped to a dolly.
Right. Yeah, when I think of Jonathan Demme, I don't think of upbeat stuff. I think of very stylistic choices. And like you said, Richard, like there are some here, but it's not Stop Making Sense, which comes out 2 years later. It's not Philadelphia.
2 years later.
2 years later, Stop Making Sense comes out. Oh, yeah.
What was right before this? Was he doing features before that?
Yeah, he was doing some of them like low budget features, like Fighting Mad,
Handle with Care, movie we're going to be talking about next year.
There's another one that I was. Oh my goodness, why am I forgetting?
Melvin
it
and
had
Howard.
Candy and Clark.
Swing Shift.
Melvin and Howard.
Melvin and Howard, yeah. Last
before
Embrace, this. Crazy Mama, Caged Heat. Yep, and it goes Stop Making Sense, and then Something Wild, Swimming to Cambodia, Married to the Mob, Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah, it was the Something Wild, Married to the Mob, that sort of like in my mind, I'm like, early Jonathan Demme was all crazy, weird, twisted romantic comedy,
Yeah.
Citizens Band is the one I've been wanting to see. It's Candy Clark and Paul Lamont. The movie from IMDb. This movie interlaces the stories of several characters in a small town united by their use of CB radio.
Guess what, Cullen? You just volunteered yourself to be on that episode next year.
Of Citizens Band?
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
That is a Mark Begley choice, and it is set in Nebraska. So there you go.
All right.
Wow.
But yeah, Jonathan Demme, look, my Talking Heads is my favorite band. I have a Talking Heads album right above me on the wall. Like, I love Stop Making Sense. I can, like you were saying, Richard, I can actually see some of the stuff going on in here that will show up a couple years later, because it's there. It's not like 2 years was all it took for Jonathan Demme to grow into himself. It's a slow progress, but, his direction is solid for a PBS TV show. Either way, it's great.
Yeah, that's the other thing. I don't remember. I have a vague memory of this as a show, a PBS show, but I don't recall. I don't think I saw a lot of them. So it's hard to compare them against each other. Like, oh no, this was the same level of production. They were done on a, quick budget, quick schedule and a small budget. And
there are
no one was expecting feature films.
There are a lot of these American Playhouse things. It ran from 82 to 96.
For some reason, I feel like my English teacher in high school would show these a lot.
Totally makes sense.
It's like they did Cat on a Hot Tin Roof, True West, El Norte.
The True West one, I remember. That's a good one.
We were supposed to watch it this month. That episode didn't happen, but that was supposed to be the last episode. So I would have had a better frame of reference if I had already seen one of these, but I haven't.
I totally understand what you all mean about the production values. Maybe from having more recently seen some of them, this was what I expected it to look like, so it wasn't jarring to me, and I was fine with it. I didn't mind the stripped downness, the sort of like flat lighting.
No, it works because again, we're talking about a play. I mean,
a community theater play.
Right, like the movie doesn't even take place in quote unquote reality most of the time. It takes place on a stage. There's a movie within a movie going on in this movie. Half of the time we're watching it, it's watching them performing or watching them rehearsing. So we're not even seeing them to begin with in a lot of the time.
Also, I am totally unfamiliar with the writer-producer of this film. It was, a name I'd never heard. Don't know why they were the person to do the adaptation. So
it looked like they did a bunch for American Playhouse.
You're talking about Neil Miller, right?
Yeah. And then he worked on Bicentennial Man.
Okay.
Great. Bicentennial Man is a movie.
Here's a question for you. What would this look like today if they were... I don't know if there is any sort of equivalent like productions of classic American literature dramatized. What would this be today? Or could it be done today? Is there a market for this?
You mean American Playhouse or this particular story? If it was shot today as a movie?
Yeah, both.
I don't know. I will tell you that I don't think there's no. I've said it before. I'll say it again. There's no such thing as a poorly or underproduced product now. I would almost say internationally, but certainly not in America. It is rare that you see something where you feel like, if they had a few more bucks, they could have really done a thing with this.
In this day and age, someone going, this movie looks good is not a compliment. Like, if it doesn't look good, that's the problem. Like, most things have, you can go and buy a red camera for $5,000. Like, that's not a very big hurdle to cross, realistically, to make a movie.
And you can argue aesthetics. You can go, that was an ugly movie. Like, I don't like the choices of production design or whatever. That's fair. But it never looks like, ooh, that looks a little cheap. This looked a little cheap, even for 1980. But in 1980, everything looked cheap. I mean, you would go see feature films and especially genre films and go, the effects weren't that good.
This looks like Twilight Zone 85 because it looks the same quality of direction and photography. Like, that's one of the other things.
Yeah.
And that's a network television show with people like Harlan Ellison and other folks working on it with Bruce Willis and people like. I think that this looks time appropriate.
Also, there's so much on basic and premium cable that is sort of really just stripped down character stuff. It's usually about, disaffected couples living in New York and, are they fucking and who are they fucking and high maintenance and modern romance and a lot of those sort of like shows about the way the young people live, in the city and how they meet each other and what their sex lives are like. And so I think like that area of interest gets served in other ways. That's like, okay, we're the stuff about not special effects. We're the not Star Wars. We're just the personalities, and maybe that's coming from a place of people can make movies on their phones now, and it's not that hard. You don't need a ton of equipment to rent and lights and shit. So I don't know what the equivalent would even be. A lot of this was based on theater pieces, and theater isn't even the same. I mean, there's very few straight plays that are just straight plays.
Aren't table reads like a thing like this? Like, isn't that our version of American Playhouse? Is like getting a bunch of actors together to do a table read is like kind of the same thing, right?
A fucking table read of an episode of Community, and you get the Community cast. I mean, it's not like you're not reading, Christopher Durang's latest, or fucking,
I don't know why we shouldn't have that. That sounds like something that people would like.
But it's because people don't go to theater. I mean, like things like August Osage County. Those things they're few and far between nowadays. That's just not what Broadway's about. There are no famous, there's no Neil Simon now. There's no Eugene O'Neill. There aren't a lot of people that are known for writing either straight comedy or straight plays. It's big productions. It's big musicals or production-y things.
Jersey Boys. In the Heights.
Boys.
Hamilton.
Yeah. There are great straight plays, Slave Play, which I saw a couple of years ago, I thought was great. I thought, oh, that's really cool. That's what I like in theater. I like just, oh, here's an idea and it plays out in a particular way. I really enjoyed that. But I don't know if the person who wrote that is going to go on to write 20 more plays that each receive attention, productions, critical thought, and box office.
Who's the last great American playwright, like contemporary? David Mamet? Was that it? I mean, let me put it this way. To answer your question, Cullen, and I think Richard answered it pretty succinctly, I will add my chuckle fuck 2 cents. I don't have to worry about one of my favorite movies / plays ever getting remade because I don't think anyone has the gumption to remake Glengarry Glen Ross anymore.
What about would Tony Kushner be considered?
Well, okay, Angels in America.
David Mamet is for
else?
Sure, right?
Yeah,
I mean, Mamet stuff gets done. People know
Glengarry Glen
know him
Ross
as a playwright.
Yeah.
And if but even he, I think his reputation is being reevaluated. I mean, I was never. For me, you got to go back to Arthur Miller,
right?
You know?
I mean, I agree. I'm with you right there, 100%. Stuff like the Crucible, things like that don't get taught forever without a reason behind it. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
and who's writing comedy plays where it's like, oh yeah, in the last 20 years, they've written 6 really funny comedy plays that have been made into movies and that have entered our culture.
I mean, the only comedy that I can think of is Avenue Q. All the other stuff is
and
like...
it's a musical.
Yeah, and well, I was going to say, find those at this point that aren't just musicals as well. I mean, that's the other thing, is kind of... I would go as far as to say, like you're mentioning, Richard, almost like straight staged is not a thing. Like
it's kind of not a thing.
It's like
not Broadway.
It has to be musicals or operas masquerading as musicals, a la Phantom of the Opera.
Or it's a show, but it exists because a star is going to do it. It's like Lucky Guy. It's like, oh, okay, it's a play, written by Nora Ephron in a production starring Tom Hanks. So you go and you see it, and it's not bad, but it's not like, oh, well, another cornerstone of the American theater.
Novelty
you're just
factor.
You're seeing it because you've heard the name Nora Ephron and Tom Hanks is in it. It's not like, oh yeah, and now the new play by so-and-so who's going to be fucking hilarious, It's like if whatever, someone from Saturday Night Live just was like, you know what, I'm just going to write big Broadway comedies, and then Tina Fey just decided to spend 20 years writing, because why would you when you could just go to fucking Hollywood and write television and have it get done immediately and you'd also make a fortune? I
know so little about the contemporary theater and Broadway scene, so I will decline to comment. I wish I have friends who are much bigger into this scene. I would love
Cullen, you're
to
so
hear
geographically disadvantaged. How are you going to see Broadway? I mean, that would involve a 6-minute walk.
Richard, you know this all too well. It's astounding in a lot of ways that movies get made, given how many hands touch them, how many things happen to get a movie from point A to the finish line. I would go as far as to say that theater is even more impressive because they have to do that every single night for months on end. And sometimes they're traveling. And it's astounding. Yeah.
It is. I mean, Broadway has to exist, and Broadway is the only place it can exist where the amount of money it takes to pay. And I'm the biggest union guy in the world, so I'm not complaining. I'm just saying, to staff a theater, just keep the building from collapsing, then to do a show with actors who have to physically show up in person over and over and over again, and God forbid they twist an ankle or get a cold. And then other human beings have to show up and pay an amount for a ticket. I mean, it's such a fucking archaic way of making money, the profit margin. I mean, literally, unless you have a hit like Hamilton
or Phantom,
you're fucked. Yeah.
I mean, Phantom of the Opera, when I saw it in New York, that was the first show of 2 that day. And I'm just sitting there thinking, watching this, I was like, I can't believe they do this twice. in a day.
Well,
like these people,
yeah,
like you have to.
I know.
You have to really, like, people don't appreciate, like you said, Richard, how archaic theater is. It is movies are, like, while the film industry is its own ball of wax, film is, like, hilariously available. And, like, you know, the film medium, like, we can watch movies on our phone because someone filmed it.
Even a tough movie to make, once you've made it, it exists.
Yeah,
and now
we watched on a phone.
No, everyone who was involved in the production of that movie can drop dead, and that movie is still making money. Theater, not the same. And the other thing is that, you know, that this is why, because people are like, Broadway, you know, rah, rah, rah. But it's like, this is why you'll get a big musical, you know, Tootsie. And you're sort of like, really? Okay, I mean, I'm not saying it's going to be bad. Beetlejuice. These are big Broadway musicals. And you're like, fuck, okay, I guess. But, you know, for a producer, they're like, look, anything I can do to hedge my bets. If people are in from wherever and they're going to go see it, and they're like, well, we're in New York, let's go see a Broadway show. And they're looking around, you know, Daddy is going to be relieved if it's like, Tootsie, I've heard of that. Beetlejuice, right. I've heard of that. Okay, I'm going to pay $150 a ticket to go see it. Fine. That other thing, I don't know what the fuck that is. I never heard of that. It scares me. Let's go see the big, funny, brightly colored, loud thing.
And hence, that's why we have Shrek the Musical.
Yeah. And some of these are great. I mean, I've had people come up to me and go, oh my God, you're going to New York. You have to see SpongeBob. I'm like, what? And they're like, no, it's great. No, you think it's bad. It's great. No, you're going to love SpongeBob. I'm like, I maybe you're right. I don't know.
You know what is bad on Broadway that I saw? Cullen, you probably lived through all the jokes of this shit for a while up in New York. Spider-Man the musical.
Oh!
I did not hear anything about it.
Oh my! Did you see it too, Richard? Ooh.
I saw it.
Oh, Cullen, you weren't hearing about all the actors getting injured? The Spider-Man actors were just getting, like, fucking annihilated by terrible wire work and all kinds of stuff.
No.
People were just getting, like, injured to the point of SNL did a skit called Goblin and Green. Like Green Goblin. Goblin and Green law firm that existed to sue them on behalf of Spider-Man characters. And it was like a whole fake ad about that. But yeah.
I've got the book.
Okay.
A song, I think it's called Song of the Spider-Man. It's written by the guy who wrote the book. So the book is what they call the spoken portions of a musical. And the writer of the book structures it out. And then in this case, U2 wrote the music.
Yep.
And the director was
Julie Taymor.
Julie Taymor. And this guy is just like kind of like bigger than me, but not much. He was sort of like, I'm just a writer who got hired to do a job, and I've got U2 over here and Julie Taymor over here and Marvel Comics over there, and I'm the guy who's got to make all these pieces dance together. It's the greatest book. This guy's a great writer.
I didn't know that this was a thing, and I'm going to read it now. This sounds amazing.
It's amazing. It is one of those things where it's like you gather all the best pieces together and watch it go wrong. And it's fantastic. And the guy's not an asshole. I mean, he's not throwing brickbats. He's giving credit where credit is due, and he's trying to be nice, and you can read where he's trying to be as diplomatic as possible as he explains how someone's behavior is just out of control. It's fantastic. You got to read it. Song of the Spider-Man.
When did you see Spider-Man, Richard? I saw it in April of 2011.
I saw it a little later, I think. I may have seen it 2012.
You know what's crazy, Cullen? Think about this. This is a major production. They were changing the script while the show was going on. So the show that Richard saw and the show that I saw and the show that I have the soundtrack for are all different. Sometimes the songs weren't there. Sometimes they were. Sometimes they were different songs. Sometimes the ending was different.
And this is very true. Read, any book about Broadway, going back into the 50s, if you read about the classic musicals, which is great. It's very much the story of things that are. It's like weeks into the run, and they're still dropping songs and switching things around, and it's like, It's shocking. It's terrifying.
Yeah.
I mean, you're literally building the track as the train is moving at 100 miles an hour. You don't know what's going on. And then you've got stories about, it's like, oh, Yul Brynner, was so out of control, or I don't know if he was drunk or what it was, but it's like every night he didn't know what the fuck he was singing. He would drop entire songs and just go on to some other part of the show, and everyone's trying to deal with it. And you're like, what? People are paying to see a Broadway show, a famous Broadway show, The King and I, with Yul Brynner. And he's just like, then he just walks off stage and the curtain comes down. End of Act One. Well, I guess.
Who loves you, babe?
I want to go back in time and see that version of The King and I.
I know.
And you know what? To bring this full circle completely to something we were talking about before I even switched the recorder on. Theater is something that I wish more people were into. I will say I'm disappointed that theater isn't a bigger thing, because live music is such a thing. And live music is the same thing in a lot of ways. Like, it is a massive undertaking. You literally have to get people from one city to another. I mean, it's like professional wrestling. I mean, professional wrestling is the same way. It's a professional wrestling is a theater act in the round. Yeah. It's just, I wish vanilla theater like this, because this is, no music, pretty straightforward. This would be like an evening of theater. This is not like a whole play. This is probably a double bill with something else. Stuff like this is not a thing that's popular, and that is a shame. Because, like Richard said, it's kind of a lost thing now. Like, and it used to be the thing. And in many ways, the entertainment industry is like that. I mean, the song Video Killed the Radio Star, it's a reality in many ways. Just like, streaming killed the physical star. I mean, in a lot of ways, physical media has been taken down by streaming, not completely, but taken back because streaming is so convenient. I mean, again, talking about watching Citizen Kane on your iPhone in a toilet in 30,000 feet in the air while flying to Australia is not a thing that anyone who made that movie thought they would ever be able to do, but yet here we are.
You know what else is strange is that, and I think this applies to pretty much every writer. I was going to say big musicals have been made into movies that are famous, like My Fair Lady and, Guys and Dolls, West Side Story. But straight plays, some have been made into great movies, but is there a great Eugene O'Neill movie? Is there
Long Day's Journey and Tonight by Sidney Lumet is just devastating.
Yes. Okay, great. Okay, no, that is 100. Thank you. So that would stand as his. And then what is the great Arthur Miller play on film? Movie of what? Death of a Salesman?
That was like the Volker Schlondorf directed the one with Dustin Hoffman, didn't he?
I was going to say the Dustin
Hoffman, which was really interesting, but I don't know, you got to track that down. I would go so far as to
Crucible
say
with Daniel Day-Lewis is pretty good.
I haven't seen that one.
I mean, look, unfortunately, I think the real issue here, Richard, is, like, for me, the more interesting ones are the ones that are interpretive, not straight up, right? Like, the Crucible is good, but that Crucible with Winona Ryder and Daniel Day-Lewis, it's just the interpretation. Like, there's nothing to it.
That's what makes it good, yeah.
Yeah, but, like, I think for me, the transformative nature is more interesting. But, like, I can appreciate a good, solid, Crucible directed by whoever, starring the best people of the time, Daniel Day-Lewis and Winona Ryder. Like, okay, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's what it needed to be, and that's about it.
But again, it's tough to feel like, as a producer of theatrical material, that you'll make your money back once we make the most perfect film version of this play.
Right.
Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf? Yeah, that's a straight play that got made into a classic movie. I'm gonna say that I don't think many Neil Simon movies of his plays are anywhere near as good as seeing a good production of that self-same play, up to and including The Odd Couple, which I think is a sporadically successful film, but is much more successful on stage.
I would love to see that on stage.
I'm not sure I've seen a movie that is better than the stage production of anything. Take the best stage production of of whatever it is and put it up against the movie, I'm not sure there are movies that are better. Because Phantom of the Opera, sure as hell is not better. No. Cats, sure as hell is not better. Jersey Boys definitely is not better.
But you can live with My Fair Lady, and you can live with West Side Story, and you can live with probably Guys and Dolls. Like, there's probably a lot of classic American Rodgers and Hammerstein, Rodgers and Hart musicals that you can watch. But I mean, has there
Oklahoma, stuff like that.
Yeah, has there been a great Sondheim movie?
Is Sondheim did Sweeney Todd, right?
I mean, that movie was not great.
That movie, like, when I saw, because I've seen Sweeney Todd on stage, because I was super into the movie. My parents took me to see it on stage, and I was so disappointed because the tone of the stage play is so different. It is like this. It is like, Who Am I This Time? It is so different because the movie Sweeney Todd is very dark and brooding and Tim Burton, and the stage play is very tongue-in-cheek and very stylized. And, like, stylized in a different way. Like, they did that, like, very stagey thing where, like, characters die and it's like, ee! And they make, like, a noise. The stage goes, like, gray and black. And then they have, like, a person pouring a bucket of blood over the top of them. Stuff like, it's very stylized. But not like Tim Burton's way. But, yeah, I don't know. Because Sondheim is just another big name, right? Like,
funny thing happened. The Way to the Form is pretty good from what I remember.
The movie?
Yeah.
Oh, I haven't seen the movie. That I would love to see that movie. That's a really fun show.
I've only it's been a while since I've seen the movie, but I would like to see it again. I'm just looking at it now, and I didn't realize it's Richard Lester.
We're going down a deep theater dogleg here, but I don't know if I'm wrapping it up, but I will say that, again, for anyone who wants to read a book about Broadway, another great one, another classic is by William Goldman, and it's called The Season. And he wrote it before he wrote Adventures in the Screen Trade.
What is it called?
And he's The Season.
The Season.
And it's about, I think, like the 1968 Broadway season. And he writes about just that one season, and he uses that one season to dissect Broadway as an industry. And it what he wrote about 50 years ago is still true today.
Huh.
Oh my goodness. I'm looking it up right now. This looks fantastic.
I mean, it's some of the chapter titles are very un-PC, such as Jews and homosexuals. But to say that those two groups don't have a lot to do with Broadway, you'd be wrong. And so he just cuts right to it.
It's written in a very frank way, one might say.
But it's fascinating. And it's William Goldman. I mean, it's unputdownable, you know?
I mean, look, I'm one of these people, similarly, I think, to the three of us. I love stage. I love stage plays. It's a lot of fun to go and sit and watch people performing. I love it. It's great. But there is a certain bittersweetness to all of this, because it is, maybe 20, 30 years from now, who knows if ever, there's just this loss of Broadway and loss of live performances, and it's disappointing, because when you watch something like this, which is effectively, a stage play recorded, there's something magical about this being so pared down, right?
Yeah, because it forces you to focus on performance. I mean, that's what it did for me.
What about you, Cullen?
I really enjoyed this movie. I've enjoyed this conversation. It's I was wondering, like, man, this 50-minute movie, is this are we gonna have enough to talk about for an hour and a half? And the answer is yes.
The answer is an unequivocal yes. We have ran longer now than the length of the film.
Whoever picked this, hats off. This was an excellent choice.
So, Mr. Hatem, skip it or watch it?
Watch it.
Cullen.
Watch it.
And I am a watch it as well. Again, look, it's 50 minutes of your time. It's not really a big commitment, so...
Should have more of those 50-minute movies.
I know,
I
right?
like it.
Yeah, it moves along at a nice little clip, and then it's done, and you have 10 minutes left in an hour, and you can go do whatever with that 10 minutes. It's not Indian cinema, let's put it that way. Look, I think we all really like Indian cinema, but Indian cinema it's an event. This was just part of my day. That's kind of the way I looked at it. So, So on that note, let's take a break and we'll play a preview, maybe, for the next podcast of TV Movie Month. If the preview didn't play, that's because I couldn't find one. If it did play, great. We're going to be talking about Sharp's Rifle on the next episode, which features Sean Bean. And it is the first of several stories about Sharp's Rifle, which is an adaptation of a book about a British soldier. It's interesting. It's got Sean Bean in it. I mean, Sean Bean's great. And Sean Bean is in multiple of these movies, so you don't have to worry about him dying in the first one. So, I mean, that's a worry of everyone's when you see Sean Bean in a role. So, but I will be joined by Trevor and Josh for that conversation. You guys remember Josh from our Deliverance discussion.
Both lovely people.
Both lovely people. So I am looking forward to that. Until then, where can people find you, Richard? I hear there's like a thing that you work on that people could go and watch like right now.
Oh my God, America has been gripped by Titans fever. Season 3 just came out. It's getting good reviews. And I love that the reviews are all a version of, after 2 horrible seasons, Titans finally has its feet under it with season 3, now that it's on HBO Max and it's gotten an infusion of cash, which it did not.
Whoa.
But anyway, if it looks better, great. That's all us. That's our talent. But anyway, season 3 is now out on HBO Max. Seasons 1 and 2 are available on HBO Max and on TNT TBS. And people are loving it. We dropped the first 3 episodes of a total of 13 episodes last Thursday night, August 12th. And people tuned in and loved it. And the overwhelming feeling does seem to be best season ever. And so we plunge forward, and we'll see how the next few weeks go.
I was like, keep that energy up. Just keep the energy up. I have like a couple websites I go to every day, and one of them, they had a Titans review, and I haven't watched it yet, but I read the review. It was a spoilerless review, and at the end it was like an 8, and I was like, shit. One of my friends works on this show, and that's a positive. Good.
It's funny because I'll read a review and I'm like, wow, this is like a great review. Like, they are really enthusiastic. 8 out of 10. And I'm like, that's an 8? Like, what's a 9?
Richard.
It's like, I get it. We're not Star Wars. I don't need a 10 out of 10. Because that means, well, this is my favorite thing, and I've never seen anything better.
Star Wars movies don't get 10s out of 10s, Richard.
Well, you know what I mean. I mean, it's like, oh my God, Avengers or whatever you're excited about. But I'm sort of like, well, they seem really excited. Yeah, 7.9. 6 point, and I'm like, what the fuck? Anyway, it doesn't matter. People seem to be liking it. And what they're like, I will say this as a person reading the reviews, they're saying, this is great, and here's what we like about what this season is giving us so far. They're giving us this, 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 and this. And I'm like, yes, we are. And those were things we talked about in the room relentlessly, that we consciously said, we have to do this now. Let's please try to make a season that has those things. And then we made an attempt to do it, and the audience is like, they did it. They did what we want. And we're like, good, there, we got it. We said we were going to give you a delicious steak, and we have served steak, and it was delicious.
You mean you didn't lead your fans on for 7 seasons and then shit the bed in the 8th one and then say, oops, we don't care anymore? Come on, that's much more fun than writing a competent TV show.
Well, hey, you know what? As a guy who barely got a pass on the first 2 seasons and is getting, a cautious green light on the 3rd season, I'll take what I can get.
Guarded, yes.
Enjoying it. Yeah, guarded, yes. We enjoyed doing it. It was a very, very tough season. Obviously, it was all produced during COVID in Canada, which was even worse than it was here, including this spring, where we were getting vaccinated down here and they were not getting vaccinated up in Canada because the vaccines weren't available. Tough circumstances, and we managed to produce 13 amazing episodes. So I hope everyone continues to enjoy.
And I noticed in all the reviews, Richard, nobody said it was COVID content, which has kind of been a thing. I don't know if you've noticed that.
No.
Yeah, no. We were.
You know what I'm talking about? Like Supernatural, the final couple episodes of Supernatural felt like COVID content.
What does that mean?
A lot of 1 or 2 people on screen together, and that's it, standing far apart from one another.
Yeah, I don't know. I noticed certain scenes that I felt like, oh, there could have been more people in that scene, but I don't know. We'll see what people say. God knows that every episode that lands, people let us know what they think. So we'll find out.
All good things. What about you, Cullen? Where can people find you?
I did post one new thing at pulp-serenade.com, so I think that technically means you can find me there.
Hey, there you go. Technically, you're right.
There should be some more. There was a movie review.
Wow.
It was a French crime movie called Le Gang.
Yeah, see, I know you're a busy guy, so you're like one of the busiest people I know, other than Richard, other than Mike, other than like all of us.
No, I do not feel, compared to y'all and everyone else I know, I do not feel like I am sufficiently busy, but thank you.
Well, as long as people think you're sufficiently busy, do you really have to be?
I don't think anyone really thinks I'm that busy, but if they do, great.
That's fair. Well, on that note, Richard, Cullen, thank you guys both so much for joining me this month. You can find me on the internet at cstachiw.com. You can find the podcast on the internet at Kulturecast.com. Patreon.com/Kulturecast is where you can go to kick a couple dollars our way if that's the thing you're into. Again, big thanks to Cullen and Richard. It's always fun to have you guys on. You know that.
It's always a pleasure.
It's great to be here, man. I can't wait for the next one.
Yeah, and we'll catch you on the next episode.